evening, we'll tell you what ballet pumps and farmers' boots have in common later in the programme. But first, Dunedin police have found a burned-out car they think was used in a shotgun attack earlier this week. 25-year-old Jacqueline Scholes was shot in the back and is still in Dunedin Hospital. Attention is now being focused on a gang headquarters. Michael Lynch reports.
Jacqueline Scholes survived the shotgun attack, but she's still recovering from having dozens of pellets embedded in her back. She was shot through a window in a lounge on Sunday night. Police believe the blast was intended for a boyfriend who'd fallen out with the Southern Vikings gang. Yesterday, a big police raid found cannabis and weapons in a paddock next to the gang headquarters. Today, they recovered the burnt-out remains of this Hillman hunter. They say it's been regularly seen outside the gang headquarters, and it was probably used as a getaway by the person who shot Jacqueline Scholes. There have been several outbreaks of gang violence in Dunedin in recent months, but police now claim they're close to getting on top of it.
Yes, I'd bet on it.
You think we'll see an end to this gang violence in Dunedin?
Yeah, I'm satisfied that we will.
Will people have to be put inside to bring an end to it?
Well, that's the inevitable, isn't it?
Forensic tests on the gun and the car will take several days. By then, police are confident they'll have enough evidence to make an arrest.
A major facelift for one of Dunedin's best-known buildings. A report just out says a lot of work is needed on the spire of First Church. Stone will be repaired and replaced on the upper sections first, with work moving down while the money lasts. A start is expected next week. And this time next week, it'll be a year since the earth opened up in an ocean view backyard and swallowed a young family's dream for the future. The problem also became their neighbours when it was discovered more than a dozen houses had been built over an old, disused coal mine. It's been an anxious 12 months for those involved. They still don't know who's liable or whether they'll get compensation. Now, as Kathy Graham reports, their hopes are resting with the government.
Residents at Ocean View have been fighting for compensation for months since they discovered 14 properties built over old mine shafts are at risk of subsiding. Maureen and Barry Robson's worst fear is that the bank at the back of their house will collapse.
Now the earthquake happens, well, it could jeopardise it sinking in the shafts and pushing the water out this way and wiping out these two houses here, you know, or maybe 3 or 4.
One neighbour's already moved out, her property worthless. Others fear they may be forced to follow suit. Wendy Hurring has discovered new cracks in the past 3 weeks.
One going right down there.
Yep.
Continuing along there and down.
Right.
And straight along to the end. Personally, I think the ground's moving. How worried are you? Oh, we're very concerned about it, yes.
Residents, however, have been told that until someone takes responsibility, no compensation's available.
I love this house. I'd love to stay here. But if the situation gets worse, I guess we'll have to move.
Since amalgamation, the Dunedin City Council's taken up the residents' case. It says it's not its responsibility, but it's happy to act as advocate for the residents.
Well, we'd like to see some compensation to be paid. The residents have lost value in their properties simply from the fact that there has been mining and that there is a potential subsidence problem. We'd like to see them reimbursed for that problem that they have.
Barry and Maureen say their property's now worthless. They can't build on and they can't get Housing Corp finance to buy another house. What would you like the government to do? What would you hope for?
Relocation, just be put in the same situation we had before all this came along.
Yeah.
You know, same mortgage, same interest. We don't want to make anything out of it. We just want a home.
The council says the Crown's responsible and it wants the various government departments it's approached to sort out the problem as soon as possible.
Little consumer niggles pale in comparison to the problems at Ocean View, but the fact is they do still exist and they have to be dealt with. And to deal with them, there's a new Consumer Complaints Office in Dunedin, officially open today. Kim Hurring went along to ask this question.
What's the one item that consumers complain about more than any other? It's shoes. Dunedin's new Consumer Complaints Office will deal with complaints about shoes and anything else to do with purchases. It was opened this afternoon by the Minister of Consumer Affairs, Margaret Shields.
Consumers need to know where to go to get help. And the easier and more accessible it is, the better. Okay.
Bill Allen is the complaints officer and he'll be giving his advice free.
If a person takes an article back which has a manufacturing defect and it's obvious that the defect is there and they see a sign in the shop which says no refunds, and the retailer insists that no refunds means no refunds, well, that is actually a breach under the Fair Trading Act for misleading and deceptive information.
And there'll even be a toll-free phone for out-of-town moans and groans.
It's that time of year again. The country's top young farmers are together to sort out who'll be Young Farmer of the Year. The dryland farmers of North Otago are the hosts, and today the 7 finalists tested their skills in North Otago conditions. But as Mark Price reports, the conditions are not what they seem.
Whether it's black and puggy, brown and watery, or just plain sticky, mud is not normally a big talking point down on the farm. But this is North Otago, where thanks to years of drought, mud is almost a novelty. However, farmers here caution that all is not as it seems. This mud is only skin deep.
Things are quite green and it looks all right, but there's no subsoil moisture at all. And the clay, following on from the drought in '88, it's never really been topped up, and we had enough rain last season to keep the top profile with enough moisture to give some very good crops, but the clay's still very dry.
Young farmer contestants were too busy performing their practical tasks to be thinking much about a bit of mud. There were bales of wool to press, farm bikes and bales of hay to come to grips with, making machinery work properly, in fact, a host of challenges. The signs of an impending challenge for North Otago farmers lies here on the horizon, where there should be a lot more snow, and here in the Kakanui stream, where there should be a lot more water.
Basically, we've just got to keep our stock numbers down and be prepared to bail out before it's too late.
And is that likely to happen, do you think?
Yes, that is likely to happen. Our stock numbers are still down from the previous drought, so it's probably not showing up quite as bad, but we will have to start bailing out again if we don't get too much more rain before spring.
While farmers are the first to agree it's early days yet to be talking about drought, they are anyway.
And the final of the contest will be broadcast live from Oamaru tomorrow night, 8:30 on Television 1, and good luck to all the competitors. Now, from the sublime to the ridiculous, or vice versa, the Royal New Zealand Ballet is in Dunedin for the final night of its international gala programme. The gala is part of the 1990s celebration series and features guest dancers from Sweden, France and the Philippines. This afternoon they had a class at the Regent and Lee Bramwell was there.
Tonight's a big night for the dancers, the last performance in Dunedin and the last night of the current New Zealand tour. They'll say goodbye to their overseas guests and to 1 or 2 members of their own company. But even so, life went on pretty much as normal this afternoon, classes with artistic director Harry Haythorne.
1 and 2 and 3, plie and 4, pas de cheval and close to close.
For the Friends of the Ballet organisation, it was more than just a class. They were invited along to watch rehearsal and earlier shared lunch and a chat with the dancers. The company will head north again tomorrow and prepare for further performances in Auckland and Wellington and a 44-city tour of the United States.
And that's it from us tonight. We'll be back tomorrow. Good night.